Astrovia class, where every great story follows a path, filled with heroes, challenges, and even legendary creatures.
Narrative texts capture all of these journeys, from bringing tales about love, sacrifice, and even destiny. This goes beyond words and they make us feel every triumph and also tragedy.
But what makes a narrative truly unforgettable? The character, the conflict, or the moral value hidden within?
Don't worry, we have the ultimate survival kit to break it down and also some jokes to make it fun.
So, grab your imagination, open your mind, let's explore the magic stories together, and welcome to the world of narrative text! Alright, before we start the lesson, let's make something fun. We're going to have a movement game to get everyone energized and ready to learn.
And we're going to move along with the song Como Lavo. If you know it, great. If not, don't worry, it's super easy. Just follow the moves and have fun.
Let's count together. 1, 2, 3.
Si vieras cómo duele perder tu amor, cuando a Dios te llevas mi corazón. No sé si pueda volver a amar, porque te di todo el amor que pude dar. Como la flor, con tanto amor me diste tú. Se marchito, me marchó y yo sé perder, pero ay, cómo me duele. Ay, cómo me duele.
Wait a minute! Before we get into it, let's first introduce the narrative material to make sure that you're fully prepared for what's to come. We want you to not only know, but also understand the content we are about to share. So, let's start from the beginning and take you to an exciting journey through this material. Now that you have gotten a glimpse, we know that you are eager to learn about this material. We love your enthusiasm, we appreciate your passions, but your wait is over. Let's go and complete this mission together.
Alright everyone, get ready because today we are going to learn something super fun, which is narrative text. Ever been swept away by an exciting adventure, a fairy tale, or a fable? Those are all narrative texts. But what actually makes a story a narrative? Is it mystery, magic, talking animals? Well, kind of. Let's break it down.
That was very interesting, right? But wait, narrative text is not just about some words. It's actually a spell that pulls you into another world. But every spell needs the right enchantment, right? So, what mystical element that makes a story comes to life? Let's unravel the secret ingredients between storytelling magic! Narrative text is a text that tells a story in a certain time sequence. The purpose of narrative text is to entertain readers and listeners by presenting an interesting and emotional story. By using narrative text, story writers describe the emotions, the experience of a certain character in detail, allowing the readers to immerse into the story emotionally.
That's right. So, what is the social function of a narrative text The social function is to amuse, to entertain, to provide information, and of course, to educate the readers about the story.
The first one is simple past tense. Narrative text usually uses simple past tense because it will tell an event or story that has already happened. That way, the readers can understand the sequence of events clearly, and it helps them to be immersed in the story.
The second one is adverb of time. Adverb of time is a word that gives information that related to when an event happened, how long it took, and how often it took place.
Direct speech is expressed by someone in the story, so it is as if the reader can feel the atmosphere in the story. Direct speech usually uses quotation mark and serves to create a lively dialogue atmosphere. Time connective and narrative text aim to sequence events in a story. The example is then, immediately, when, until, after, and before. A noun referred to as a noun is a type of word that is used to name people, things, places, or even concepts. Narrative usually uses noun to replace animal, things, places in the story. For example, the dwarf, carriage, and so on.
Adjective. Adjective is an adjective. Usually in narrative text, these adjectives serve to describe or explain the specific characteristic of each character that mentioned in the story. For example, Aladdin is a poor man, or Cinderella is a beautiful girl. Using verb. Verb is a verb. Usually in narrative text, this verb uses the second verb because it past tense grammar. For example, Cinderella is looking for hills, or Ariel is sitting, and so on.
The next one is using first person. First person is a story told by one character at a time. This character usually tells a story about itself, like using we or I. The next one is using third person. So third person in narrative text is a story that's told by the narrator by using the third person pronouns such as she, he, it, they, or even the character names. The narrator is not included in the story but only relates events that happens to another character.
Use of saying and thinking verbs to indicate what our characters feeling, thinking, or saying, such as told, realized, and decided. Using saying verbs such as laugh, cry, angry, sigh, scream, and shy, and using thinking verbs such as believe, understand, guess, and forget.
Alright guys, I know some of you are still half asleep, some are thinking about lunch, and a few might be secretly scrolling on their phones. Now, the next session is playing games. The game we will play is the emoji guessing game. Each person has to guess the title of the story based on the emoji that has been given. If you know the answer, please write it in your exercise book.
This is the opening part of a narrative text story. This section introduces the characters of the story and the setting of the story, which includes the setting of place, time, atmosphere, and social conditions. This section contains the problems that occur in a story. In more details, complication is divided into 3 parts, namely rising action, where the problems begins to arise, climax, the peak of the problem, and falling action, the tension of the problem begins to decrease and start to find a point of resolution.
The third section of narrative structure is resolution. So in resolution is the end of the narrative text. The ending could be happy, sad, or even a cliffhanger. The last section of narrative structure is reorientation. So in reorientation usually contains conclusion, moral value, and even the change of the characters at the end of the story. Reorientation is optional because it's not always have to be present in the end of the narrative text.
The tragic story of Jayaprana and Lion Sari. In a small kingdom called Kaliangat, there lived a young man named Jayaprana. He was the only survivor after a plague claimed his entire family. Feeling alone, Jayaprana decided to serve the kingdom as a servant. With his loyalty, he immediately became King Kaliangat's confidant and carried out his duties well. As the years passed, Jayaprana grew into a handsome, intelligent, and devoted young man. Because of his loyalty, the king loved him very much like his own child. One day, the king realized that it was time for Jayaprana to marry. He also ordered him to choose one of the palace ladies as his wife. However, Jayaprana respectfully refused, not because he didn't want to get married, but because his heart had not yet found someone he truly loved. One day, when Jayaprana went to the market outside the palace, he accidentally saw a beautiful girl named Nikomang Layonsari. Layonsari is a daughter of a village head named Jero Bendesa. Jayaprana immediately fell in love at first sight and immediately found out about the girl. After getting the information, he returned to the palace and asked the king for permission to propose her. The king, who was initially happy with Jayaprana's decision, gave his blessing and ordered Jayaprana to send a letter of application to Layonsari's family. The proposal was well received, and with the approval of her parents, Layonsari was willing to become Jayaprana's wife. Their wedding ceremony was held with great fanfare in the kingdom. However, on the day of the wedding, King Kaliangat finally saw Layonsari up close for the first time. Her extraordinary beauty stunned the king. From then on, evil intentions arose in his heart. He wanted to have Layonsari for himself, even if he had to sacrifice Jayaprana. With his cunning, the king planned a way to get rid of Jayaprana. He also ordered Jayaprana to go to Axum Bay on the pretext of investigating the boat that had sunk there. Jayaprana accepted the order with full responsibility. However, before leaving, he said goodbye to Layonsari, who had a bad feeling about her husband's trip. Layonsari begged Jayaprana not to go, but Jayaprana convinced him that this was the king's duty and he had to carry it out.
When Jayaprana arrived at Teluk Prima with Patih Sanggaling and the royal troops, he realized that he was trapped. Patih Sanggaling, who had been ordered by the king to kill him, immediately attacked him. Even though Jayaprana tried to fight, he was ultimately killed by being stabbed by the governor. After Jayaprana's death, the king immediately met Layonsari and pretended to mourn his departure. Full of confidence, he proposed to Layonsari, offering wealth and position in the palace. However, Layonsari firmly refused. She could not forget her husband and knew that the king was the mastermind behind his death. The angry king then tried to force Layonsari to come with him to the palace. In panic, Layonsari saw the caress took into the king's waist. Without hesitation, she took the dagger and stabbed herself, choosing death rather than living with her husband killer. King Kalianga was shocked and regretted his actions. He lost control and started acting crazy, causing chaos in the place. The royal governors, who saw that the king's condition was getting worse, finally arrested him and put him in prison. Since then, the story of Jayaprana and Lion Suri has become a legend in Bali, teaching about loyalty, true love, and punishment for those who are greedy and justify any means for personal desires. Jayaprana Grave in Buleleng is now a historical tourist spot visited by many people, both to remember his tragic story and to enjoy the beautiful views of the surrounding scene.
Once upon a time, Princess was singing while walking with her favorite animals, namely her mice and birds. Then suddenly, the kidnapper approached the princess and closed her mouth from behind. Then, the princess was taken into an unknown room with a lot of dirt and dust. Finally, the kidnapper called the prince. When the kidnapper wanted to call the prince, he answered,
Come on, stop by me. I'm right here. Don't take too long. I'll kill the princess.
Hi, Prince. I kidnapped the princess.
What do you mean by bringing up the name of the princess, huh? You kidnapped her. Where are you? I will come to you.
Come on, stop by me. I'm right here. Don't take too long. I'll kill the princess.
a long time finally, the prince came to rescue the princess.
Ha 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 ha! Finally you come also. But there is a condition. If you want to save this princess, you have to answer a question from me. Huh? What question?
What type or kind of story does it belong to?
What is the prince's character in the story?
What part of the story does the dialogue between the prince and the winch belong to?
Who is involved in the story?
Analyze what made the witch kidnap the princess.
Which of the following is true about the story?
What is the moral story message that can be taken from the story? And which situation is the moral story message delivered in?
What is narrative text?
What is the last paragraph of a narrative text called?
What is the resolution in a narrative text?
Which of the following is the correct structure of a narrative text?
Which of the following is not a linguistic feature of narrative text?
Which of the following is not the type of narrative text? The main social function of a narrative text is to
Which type of narrative text is typically based on real event but is often exaggerated?
Which of the following is not true about the structure of a narrative text?
Which of the following is true about the complicated part of a narrative text?
Determine the correct simple past tense writing.
Is the moment when Lion Sari decides to end her life a complication?
What was the reason Jayaprana served in the Kalyangat kingdom?
Why did King Kalyangat initially love Jayaprana?
What made King Kalyangat want to get rid of Jayaprana?
How did Jayaprana realize that he had been trapped?
What did Lion Sari do after learning that her husband had died?
How did Jayaprana's loyalty to the kingdom ultimately lead to his death?
How did Lion Sari show her strong will in facing King Kalyangat's desire?
In this story, King Kalyangat is portrayed as a greedy figure. How did his greed ultimately destroy him?
What moral lesson can be learned from the story of Jayaprana and Lion Sari?
If you were Jayaprana, what would you do after receiving Lion Sari bad premonition?
Why did Kalyangat initially bless Jayaprana and Lion Sari's marriage?
It turns out that you can answer this question that I made. Congratulations, Prince. You can bring this princess to you.
Hi, we're Class A. The class that's kinda ambitious, but also the loudest when there's a free period. We started off as total strangers when we got into the school, and somehow became this little family in the biggest classroom. This room's been our hanging spot for almost a year. But yeah, things are about to change. Just like Trisma motto, people come and go chasing their dreams. Soon, no more hearing Gamel yelling at the top of his lung during game time. No more Arya and Satria being absolute clowns and making everyone laugh. Even no more raising Trix's hands during Q&A just for the fun of it. But before all of that becomes just a memory, we present you our final project.
Wow! I didn't expect that our delivery was enough until here. Well, have you guys understood about narrative text learning? I hope you understand the material.
A very fun learning. I hope everyone understands the material presented. Miss Prima, do you have a message for Trisma students?
Okay, a message for my beloved Trisma students. Keep reading and writing stories to be more creative and proficient in English.
That's all from A. We all want to
thanks to
everyone
for listening.
I hope this narrative text lesson will help us
continue to grow
Miss Prima, honestly, that video wasn't just like a regular school assignment. It felt like a secret mission that magically brought us all together.
Suddenly, the classmates who barely talks were brainstorming, acting, directing, and even arguing. It was like a bunch of chaotic filmmakers with one shared goal. It was wild, it was fun, and somehow it made us a real team.
Stress banget kan? But what amazed us even more is about how you teach English. It's never boring, never the same. Sometimes you're like a TV host, but other times you're like a stand-up comedian. But the lessons always stick.
Yes, sometimes we wonder, does Miss Prima use magic for prepare her lessons? How can learning feel like watching a show?
Wow!
Thank you so much, Miss, for not only helping us grow in English, but also in friendship, creativity, and teamwork.
You didn't just teach us, you inspired and united us.
That's all from
Astrovia!